We're glad to know you're still there and watching the run-up. Today we've been focusing on our educational system, especially as regards the university system. And we're talking with Mr. Theophilud Akatugba. We also want to hear from another expert, Mr. Cosmas Reality. Good afternoon and welcome to the run-up.
I don't think Mr. Cosmas has joined us yet. But then this, I was saying something earlier just before the news came up, and I was like, if we decide to have this conversation about schools and university, we would never exhaust it.
It's not possible.
You can, while Theophilus was talking, you could hear the passion in his voice. He was, permit me to say, almost getting angry. And I can totally understand, where that is coming from. Wait until you hear from students. When the two elephants are fighting, it is the grass that suffers. So yes. We've not even brought the conversation down to the point where we get to have a first-hand experience of how this whole, craziness is affecting the students. When you hear them talk, share their expressions, some people among these students have had their greatest life scar just by staying at home when they are supposed to have been in school.
Some went back as mothers.
I mean, you can do with this information whatever you want. You can imagine it to any extent.
Yeah.
And that is what happens with being in the right place at the wrong time. Because I can't call being at home a wrong place. But then they had no business staying at home for the long while that they did. It has affected their mental health. It has affected me.
But some of the students were actually still breadwinners to wherever they come from, even though people will see that as being wrong. But some of them were very good businessmen and women on campus, and that business was taken away from them. So they suffered. The people who were also enjoying this money suffered, and they found themselves in a very, very rough place throughout this time. And when Mr. Akatugba was talking, like you said, you could see the passion, you could hear it and see it in his eyes. And the question you ask yourself is that we know it's because he has seen in other climes what happens, because he's traveled a lot. The people in power have traveled a lot too. Why don't they have the same passion?
I think that's the question that we would have to throw at an education expert who has just joined us. Okay, Cosmas Reality. Good afternoon and welcome. Can you hear us? Okay, I think while we wait for him to...
Maybe he has not unmuted himself.
Are you there? Can you hear us? I don't think he can hear me. I would really have wanted to throw this particular, question at him. But we have a short video from one of the universities in Nigeria. There was a Vox Pop, Bayero University, I think. We're going to be bringing you that video because we are actually very, very short of time. And I don't know, what do you say, Nyamgo?
Yeah, I think some people should have first-hand information. People who are not parents or who don't have undergraduates in their houses should have it. Because, some people actually had children come back to the house. People that training in school come back to the house. And when someone begins to develop, you have this mental image that, okay, at this point to this point, I will be under my parents. There's a way you behave. And this point to this point, I'll be among my friends and all that. All that calendar, psychological calendar was disrupted and all that. So some of the children found it difficult to relate with their parents at a time they thought they could be relating with their peers. As out of place as that might sound, but it really affected a lot of them. And some parents that didn't know their children were going to be at home at that time didn't know how to relate with them. But it was just crazy. From February to October is quite some time. It's quite some time. But like I said, if the people who are at the helm of affairs have traveled as far as that. There was one time I went to Ghana, and that was at the instance of a friend of mine who used to come to Nigeria to source for students. He didn't have a problem. Once he comes, he will go to maybe a radio station and say there's a school in Ghana. Everybody will be rushing to go. So he brought me from Nigeria to go and talk to the students. So I was expecting a crowd of maybe 7, 10. I got a hall, a full hall. And that was just one school. Talk to your Nigerian people.
When you say people at the Home of Affairs have traveled and they've, they have the travel experience of what education is like in these other places, I don't think, education should be put aside, particularly when we want to look at it that way. Because, I mean, they've traveled. They've seen how
things are done.
Government is done generally, and nothing has been done. So education is not different. These are people who have, I feel, blatantly decided not to do things properly.
Yeah, Mr. Akatugba said what really gives us the kick around here in Nigeria is titles and certificates, all those things, names and all that. These are the same people that go out and they carry their own bags in London, in America. They are ordinary people. Because, for instance, the former vice president was someone who was taking a train to work every day in America. The UK Prime Minister was going on a bicycle sometimes. People were saying, they are ordinary people. So when you go there and you see this kind of people, you behave, you come back home. The army men, the policemen that should be on the streets taking care of us are now the ones that will be going after you, holding one person, and then some of them will now be the ones to dish out the rice in a party for you. So it's terrible. Maybe we should just wrap up at this point and just let the people feel the pulse of the students in that report that we talked about. We may not come back to say our bye-bye, so let me just use this time to say bye-bye to you. My name is Nyamgul Agaji. Let's do it again tomorrow.
And I am Uchechukwu Onodo. Stay watching Plus TV.
It was barely a week to examinations in Bayero University, Kano, when the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, went on strike. 8 months after, the strike has been called off and academic activities are now underway. Majority of students are excited to be back to school. On resumption, the students are to write their examinations and have been given 3 weeks by the school authority to prepare. However, many are worried because the long stay at home affected their studies and they feel 3 weeks is not enough time.
It's really hard and we are trying as much as possible to try our best to cover for this semester. Although we are at home for 8 months, everybody knows that no one is reading.
It's taking a lot. The time, the energy and everything, it's taking it. So we're just hoping and praying we could be able to meet up before the starting of the exams.
We have a lot to cover. I'm like confused, literally confused, because I don't know where to start from because there's no tutorials.
While some have attached themselves to different reading and tutorial groups, others simply rely on past examination questions and answers.
Well, as a 100 level student, I do not have any experience on the past exams and everything, but from what we've heard from our senior ones in the school, we've been using past questions and then the handouts that have been given to us by our lecturers to prepare for the exam.
This is my past question. I'm going for a tutorial now. I'm just tired. 8 months of strike. I've not been reading since I went to. I've been trying to. I don't even know what to say. I'm speechless.
The Dean of Students Affairs at Bayero University, Professor Shamsuddin Umar, believes that despite the long stay at home, the students can catch up. He encourages them to be mindful of the way they use their mobile phones while reading.
I will tell these students that they should never dare defeat themselves. They can really do it. And it's just a matter of paying a lot of attention to the books. And they should also concentrate more and read more. And they can make it, really, I know. Because this is Bayero University, you know.
As uncertainties have risen over the part payment of October salaries by the federal government, many academic and non-academic staff are pleading with the federal government to clear the backlog. Stephen Enoch, Plus TV News, Kano. It was barely